All right, here we go on what's going to be a real hot Sunday morning in July in Las Vegas. I'm Brian Feldman, and this is Out of Line. We are here every Sunday morning at 8 on Fox Sports Radio, 98.9 FM and 1340 AM, flagship of the Vegas Golden Knights. We are coming to you live from the Wisden in Las Vegas because for over 2 years, the fading pandemic continues to keep us out of the Fox Sports Residential Bancorp studios. Joining me on the show is our social media director, my co-host, Spencer The Wiz Ostrovsky.
Nobody beats the Wiz. Nobody beats the Wiz.
And back in the Fox Sports Residential Bancorp studios, producer Chris Magnum Chapman, who aside from producing a number of shows at Lotus Broadcasting, is the locker room reporter for the Vegas Golden Knights radio network. The show is also streaming on the LV Sports Network, and you can watch the show on Facebook Live and YouTube. The page is called Outta Line. That's OUTTALINE. Follow the show on Instagram and Twitter at Outta Line Fox LV. And since we are live, your calls and questions are welcome. The Fox Sports Residential Bancorp studio line is 702-876-1340.
Hi, this is Bubby, and it's time for What's on Tap.
On Tap, brought to you by title sponsor Residential Bancorp. Whether purchasing a new home or refinancing the home you already own, Residential Bancorp is the company to turn to for all your home financing needs. Residential Bancorp, funding America one neighborhood at a time. Call 702-964-5720 to get information on all the home financing options available in Nevada. On Tap, the Vegas Golden Knights pick up 6 players in the entry draft. The Raiders made history in a good way this week. John Whitman Jr., founder and chairman of the board of GG Tour Inc., will join the show, a segment gamers will not want to miss. As a matter of fact, nobody will want to miss the segment. The NBA Summer League is heating up at the Thomas and Mack and Cox Pavilion. The WNBA All-Star break comes at a good time for the Aces, who have 4 players in today's game. The MLB All-Star game is a little over a week away, and a couple of old familiar faces just were announced that will be playing in the game. I'm happy as hell about one of them. The men's final at Wimbledon is happening right now as we speak, and the first place Las Vegas Aviators are returning to the Las Vegas ballpark for a 6-game homestand starting on Tuesday. That's what's on tap. If you are looking to buy a home or to refinance the home you currently own, choose a company you can trust. Residential Bancorp, funding America one neighborhood at a time. Call 702-964-5720 for details on all your home financing options in Nevada. What's going on, Spence? Man, a week off last week on the 4th of July. I played a lot of poker, didn't make any money in the World Series. Maybe today, who knows? But, it was actually kind of weird to have a Sunday where we didn't do the show. I didn't remember the last time we just didn't have a show on a Sunday morning.
I think the last time, I think the last time was when the pandemic started. Like, that's how long it's been. Like, we took a week off because, like, the whole world stopped for that week. And I think, so we don't take time off a lot. But as always, Brian, it is a whiz-tastic Sunday.
Whiz-tastic. I love I love the saying, Spence. You're following in some footsteps. We'll get right into Nightcap in a second, but a lot going on this weekend, starting with Wimbledon real quick, Spence, before we get into it. Going on right now, pretty cool. I don't know if you watched the women's final yesterday, but Elena, I believe it's Rybakina is the way you pronounce her name. First win ever. Really cool. She's Russian. I think Kachaskan, first player ever from there to win a major at Wimbledon. I think a major period, but it was really cool. And she's like 6 years old, and she was ranked 17th going in. She beat number 3, another great name, Ons Jabeur. And Ons is spelled just like it sounds, O-N-S. But it was a really good match, and it was pretty cool. She beat her in 3 sets, and right now, as we speak, the men's finals going on, and it's a pretty interesting final. Djokovic, who's going for his 21st title. At the beginning of the season, you had 3 of the greatest of all time, all tied with 20 major championships. Nadal starts the year on fire, winning the first 2, and now has 22. But Joker can pick up number 21 today at Wimbledon. He's won 20 straight matches at Wimbledon. But what's crazy thing is going up a guy that's never won a major, I don't think he's ever played a major final in Nick Kyrgios. but it's pretty cool. The guy's Australian. No Australians reached the finals since like 2005. But what's really cool is he's played Djokovic twice in his career, and he's beaten him both times. So, and last time I checked, Spence, you can give me an update right now, but I think they each had won one set. They were in the third set, and I think Kyrgios was ahead when I looked this a few minutes ago. What's going on?
Yeah, so we are in the third set, and it is currently flip-flop. It is close. We are Djokovic is up 5-4 at the current moment, but he was down to start it, so sounds pretty intense.
You know what's cool about this, Kyrgios, if you're not feeling, this is when I really, not that I don't miss him at other times, but Frank Harnish, man, just was my go-to for tennis. I mean, this guy just knew the sport, knew everything about it. Loved it as much as most of us love the four major sports here. That's how into tennis Frank was. He would love this right now. This Kyrgios guy, his demeanor is a lot like John McEnroe. He yells at the official. He slaps his racket on the ground. He absolutely intentionally plays slow. It's really kind of cool to watch him play the game. And I'm recording it. I'm going to go home and watch the match because this should be pretty interesting. I can't imagine Joker losing this final as well as he's played at Wimbledon. But you just don't know. This Kyrgios guy kind of is able to play him and sets up well to play his game. So Frank, man, I probably not listening. Hopefully doing something way cooler than listening to this show right now. But man, you'd really be enjoying this week at Wimbledon. It's pretty cool. All right, Spence, go ahead and hit it.
Hockey players, as you know, are warriors. They don't give up. They come to play every game.
It's time for Nightcap, a cup full of the Vegas Golden Knights. From highlights to interviews to special events, the puck starts here.
Always starts here with Nightcap and the Vegas Golden Knights, but the Vegas Golden Knights made 6 selections as part of the 2022 NHL entry draft in Montreal, securing 4 forwards, 1 defenseman, and 1 goaltender. Mags, I know that you've got your finger on the pulse of what's always happening with the Vegas Golden Knights. Not super familiar with the guys that they drafted, did a little bit of due diligence on it, but what did you think of this year's entry draft?
Well, I think we also need to consider that Jack Eichel was essentially their number 1 pick or first-round pick, because that's why they did not have a first-round pick this year. It was sent to Buffalo along with Alex Tuck and Peyton Krebs for Jack Eichel. So when you factor that in, the fact that you got a potential point-a-game player already on your roster, I think you need to consider that in this year's draft. Look, Golden Knights did not have a ton of picks. They traded some up to draft a player. So it's it's funny. I think when it comes to the NHL draft, because I've been to one. I went to the one in Vancouver where Peyton Krebs, ironically, was the Golden Knights' first pick in that draft. But Brian, it's kind of a crapshoot. It's a lot like the Major League Baseball draft in that there's just so many players for so many different parts of the world that it's impossible to nail it down to a perfect science. Like, I think after the first round, a lot of times it just becomes a matter of, does this player fit within our system? Can we make him a better player? And can we make him an NHL player? And I think that's the situation that the Golden Knights found themselves in. Look, the sad reality, Brian, is that over the course of the Golden Knights' history, outside of Nick Hague, they have not drafted one player who has played significant minutes for them. They traded away Nick Suzuki. They traded away Eric Brandstrom. They've traded away Peyton Krebs. So you can go down through their draft history and be like, yeah. None of these players that they've drafted in this year's draft will significantly figure into their plans in the very near future. Most of them are guys who are development players. We may never even see them play for Henderson. So that's the reality of the NHL draft. Look, overall, I think they did okay with what they had. I think the number 1 pick that they drafted, Matthias Sapoloviv, he's an interesting prospect. He's a tall kid. He's 6'3", but he's a little light. He's only 183 pounds. So it sounds like he's got the potential to be an NHL player. Where he fits, I don't know. He's a center, so obviously that's a premium position. And I heard him describe himself as a bit of a puck possession guy. He also compared his game to Mikko Rantanen and Tomas Hertl. So if he turns out to be one of those two guys, and the Golden Knights got themselves a really damn good player, because one of them is a Stanley Cup champion, the other is a really, really good player. So, look, it comes down to development now. The Golden Knights now are on the onus to develop and make these kids that they've drafted, turn them into good players. Most of them are going to be at development camp, which starts on Monday, tomorrow actually. And I think it's hard to judge a draft class right after a draft, especially in the NHL, because so many of these kids are going to go back to juniors. Some will go back to college. And so we'll just have to wait and see. I'll be curious to see how some of these guys look at City National this week, because, as I said, development camp starts tomorrow. But like I said, Brian, outside of Nick Hague, there's not one player that this team has drafted that has shown that they are an NHL player. We could even look at Cody Glass, who, I should rephrase that. Nick Suzuki is an NHL player, but he's
an NHL All-Star.
Yeah, and he's obviously not on the draft anymore or on the team anymore. He's clearly the best player that they've ever drafted. So, at least as of now, Peyton Krebs may turn out to be a better player. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But they don't have one player that they've drafted on their roster outside of Nick Hague, who's played significant NHL minutes. So, they're going to have to get better at this in the long run. They're going to have to start nailing some of these draft picks, and they're going to have to start holding on to some of these players, because I think the idea now that, we want this player, we're willing to give away prospect A, B, and C and a pick to get this player, I think those days have to be over, because the teams that are successful in the NHL are teams that draft well, teams that find players that fit exactly what they want. Look, Colorado Avalanche sucked 5 years ago. They were the worst team in the NHL. They ended up getting the 4th overall pick. They didn't get the 1st pick. They got the 4th pick. And who did they take? They took Cale Makar, who arguably might be the best player in the NHL right now. And
defensive player this year, he won the Norris Trophy.
And he won the Conn Smythe Trophy. So he's won every major NHL award except the Hart, basically. He's won the Stanley Cup. He won the Calder Trophy. He won the Norris Trophy. He won the Conn Smythe Trophy. Look, outside of the Hart, I don't know if there's a player who could say that they've done that at his age. So, Brian, it really comes down to development now. You drafted these kids. You're going to have to send them back to juniors, see how they progress in juniors. And then when they get here, you have to develop them. You have to turn them into NHL players. How many NHL players they have out of this year's draft class, I don't know, Brian. But judging by the track record of this franchise, I don't know if they have any.
It's like you said, Chris, this is an area they need to improve on their scouting and checking these players out. As you mentioned, Jack Eichel, one of the best gets they've ever gotten. I was thrilled with Pacioretty. I was thrilled with Stone. Obviously, Alex Pietrangelo. But Martinez, but the bottom line is Jack Eichel to me was the best get this team's ever got. Well worth the first pick or the first round draft pick in the entry level draft, and they really did get a pick in every other round. Chris, 4 of these 6 guys are 18 years old. One's 19. The goaltender's 19, and one guy's 20 years old. So as you said, going back to college, a lot of these guys are just getting ready to start college, and that's really when you most see what you see in the NHL entry draft is kids that are 17 to 19, maybe 20 years old. So you really don't know how they're going to develop. As you mentioned, Sapovaliv, he's only 183 pounds, but the kid's 18 years old. You can do a lot of growing as we see college football players. What happens to them between 18 and 21 is pretty unbelievable. So this kid could grow. He could be decent. Like you said, he's a centerman. It'll be interesting. Left-handed kid. And, they like him. They seem to like this kid a lot. They did pick up a goaltender with the 3rd pick in their 4th round. But, like you said, Chris, it's a crapshoot. You just never know. Usually top picks are no misses. Cody Glass, maybe an exception to the rule. But, you look a couple years ago when Connor McDavid followed by Jack Eichel. What a draft that was. 2 of the greatest, if not the 2 best players in the league when they're at the top of their game right now. Taking nothing away from Austin Matthews. You've got to be in that discussion as well. But no doubt about it, it is a crapshoot. You don't know. Cale Makar taken high by the Avalanche, but who knew he was going to develop into, at the age of 23 years old, maybe the best defenseman in the National Hockey League. I mean, Sean McDonough wanted to marry the guy during the Stanley Cup playoffs. Every time he talked about a game, I don't think he went through 7 sentences without saying he's the best defenseman in the NHL. Yeah, thank God he won the Norris Trophy to make that statement accurate. But no, I like you said, you kind of scratch your head. We'll leave the Knights alone. I did want to talk a little bit more about Riley Smith. Everyone's still waiting for that announcement to be final. We know that he verbally agreed to a contract. Like to hear it be etched in stone, which we'll probably hear in the next coming weeks. But let's move on, Spence. A lot more to talk about it. Go ahead and hit fact this.
Fact this. If you don't like the facts, take your ass back to bed. Fact this.
Fact. The Raiders are no stranger to breaking color and gender barriers in the NFL. The team hired Art Shell as the first black head coach of the modern NFL era and made Amy Trask the first female CEO in league history. Former head coach Tom Flores also was the first Hispanic head coach to win a Super Bowl. This pattern continued this past Thursday when the Las Vegas Raiders announced the hiring of the new team president, Sandra Douglas Morgan, who became the first black female team president in league history.
My honor to be here today as the newest member of the Raiders family. As I shared with the team earlier today, I was raised in Las Vegas and have truly witnessed this city ascend to one of the sports capitals of the world. Visited by millions across the globe, and it is an honor of a lifetime to serve as the president of this organization. The Raiders organization has actually brought $2.29 billion in economic impact of visitors for events in Allegiant Stadium. And the estimated impact of the Super Bowl in 2024 is estimated to be in the billions as well. We have so much more to do, and I'm excited to be at the helm of that growth and look forward to ushering in the new chapter for the Raiders. I've been an attorney for 20 years, but I have led and managed very large teams, managing, budgets of hundreds of millions of dollars. I've had the honor of serving on boards of public companies that have market capitalization of over billions of dollars. And so I think my business acumen will definitely benefit the Raiders. I think my community contacts here will assist a lot of our stakeholders and partners I've had to deal with, maybe in a different role as a regulator, but just as important here with the Raiders. I definitely will lean on and can't wait to work with Dave Ziegler and Coach McDaniels as well. I know that their expertise on the football side is a tremendous asset to the Raiders. There's been a lot of changes over the last 6 months, but I know that Mark has made those intentionally and just really looking forward to the future.
One thing that hasn't changed watching that video, Spencer, in the last 16 years is Mark Davis's haircut. But a lot has changed for the Raiders. And you know something, this is not just a historical hire of somebody of color and gender. It is a hire of somebody that makes perfect sense. And I really like this hire. A Las Vegas native. Last year, Sandra Morgan was named vice chair of the Las Vegas Super Bowl host committee. She's broken barriers in the past. She was the first African-American city attorney in the state of Nevada and was the first African-American and second female chair of the control board, the gaming control board. Spence, this is a great hire. And she definitely was very vocal about the fact she understands what's been being said behind the scenes, the quick interim president and firing. I don't know how he wasn't fired because of what he was saying about what was going on internally and the way people were being treated, the way people of gender, they were talking about, female employees were being discredited and put down. I really think she is going to come in, and I think Sandra Douglas Morgan is going to kick some ass and help this franchise. And I just think it really is a positive thing for the Las Vegas community. Not only gender and African-American, to bring her into this position, an attorney for years and somebody that's highly intelligent, but again, a Las Vegas local person, Spencer, that we can all relate to. Pretty cool.
No, it is really cool. But you did talk about that, and I do think it's worth mentioning that the presidential role in the Raiders organization is passed around more than a beach ball at a Nickelback concert. For whatever reason, I don't know. I mean, it's not good. So hopefully this one sticks around. Clearly, she's well qualified, very well spoken. So hopefully she represents the organization well. But there is one question I want to ask you. And something has changed tremendously within the Raiders organization. I don't know what it was, though. Mark Davis has completely changed the way he's run this. maybe it's the pizzazz of being in Las Vegas, and it was like the transition period was weird. But for you, what do you think? Like, who got into Mark Davis's ear? Like, it almost feels like there's someone like that has influence and changed his life forever. I don't know how to explain it, but this is not how the Raiders have been normally run in the past.
No, it's really cool and welcome changes. And I know I'll bet there's a few people in his ear, Spencer. And also one of the things taking into consideration when you're watching the changes, the hoopla, him buying the Las Vegas Aces, which has really been a great thing for that organization. But I you know what I honestly think it was? I think it was attending Golden Knights games. I think he saw the opportunity here in Las Vegas to really make a sports franchise or sports franchises an event, a show, something different. And Bill Foley and the Vegas Golden Knights really have stepped things up to a whole new level with the way these games are. As I tell everyone, I've said it for years, if you want to know what a Vegas Golden Knights game going to one is, it's like going to a Las Vegas show and a hockey game breaks out. That's what it's like. And Mark Davis, I think, is taking that concept and trying to see what he could do with the Raiders. I mean, Spencer, they have the stadium. You know, one of my good friends was in town a couple weeks ago. We played in the Jay Schrader golf outing together. And, you know, he was saying we drove past Allegiant Stadium and he wanted to check it out. And he's like, wow, that is like ridiculous. And I always say, you know, if you haven't been to Detroit and seen Ford Field and how connected Ford Field and Comerica Park is, they've really done a great thing there with that. And Ford Field is really cool with the history. The J.L. Hudson building actually built right into part of the stadium, a building that was constructed in the 1920s in Detroit. But with Allegiant Stadium, it is as state-of-the-art as it gets. It is such a great venue for viewing sporting events, even way up in the press box. How beautiful is that entire venue when you look at the scene? You can look out the big giant window where the torch is, and you can see the 15 and cars racing by. You see the skyline of Las Vegas. I mean, it is incredible. And Mark Davis seems to wanting to run to using that venue the way that the Golden Knights use T-Mobile Arena, and it's really cool and it's special.
Well, there's one last thing I want to talk about, because I feel like this hire is officially the cleanest house that the Raiders have had. How long do they get? Just straight up, how long does the new regime get? Is it just so new that they're going to get 5 years because it's like they went all out for it? Or how much pressure is the organization going to get? And I know we have a lot of time to talk about the Raiders, but like, I just feel like this is the new leaf. Like, this is it. Like, there's no more stones to churn. Like, this is it. What do you give this regime?
Now, Spencer, you give them a little bit of time, but not a lot. And here's why not a lot. The team is built to win right now. I mean, last year they went to the postseason, went on the road, and nearly defeated a team that competed for the Super Bowl in the Cincinnati Bengals. They played them as well as anybody other than the Rams in the postseason. So, you know, to say that they're not expected to do well right now, I think they are. Yes, the controversy of last season, you know, does hold over. Obviously, John Gruden left a stench. Henry Ruggs, one of the most tragic NFL stories in the past 2 decades. I mean, just ridiculous. I was talking about that last night at a poker tournament. We're talking about the tragedy of the Henry Ruggs story. But, you know, I really like the hire. I think that that this will change things. Sandra will come in and clean house as far as making sure things are running right, and a lot of the negativity that you hear will stop in the front office. But the front office is not the field. This team is built on the field to win right now. They've got bookends on defense now, which is a pass rush, which is something you have to have, and their pass rush should be competitive with the best pass rushes in the NFL right now,
or in our division. I should say,
even in the division. Well, the division is as good as it gets. But you know, they're built, and you know, and again, right now, Derek Carr, this is his year. Last year, he stepped up and he played as well as he had since the season they won 11 games in. This is the year for Derek Carr to step up and take this team to the next level. I mean, I don't think that the expectations to me, Spencer, are this team needs to win now. And not only win now, they've got to get to the postseason and I think win a game in the playoffs this year, even with the new head coach, even with the new president. I still think they're going to be expected to win right now. They're built to do that. And that's just what I think about it. Hey, listen, our guest is our guest with us. All right. Well, I want to get to a guest today. Looking forward to having this guy, and I know Spencer's been really looking forward to being a gamer yourself, Spencer, and exciting. But joining the show right now via StreamYard is our guest today, and is John Whitman Jr. He's the founder and chairman of the board of GG Tour Inc. It's an esports company that hosts online tournaments for competitive video games. The company recently struck a deal with the Metaverse worth $100 million. Pretty darn cool. John, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me this morning.
Absolutely. Spence, I'm going to let you jump right in here because he is chomping at the bit.
I am.
John,
I literally am.
He has been waiting for this interview since he told me about it like a month and a half ago. He's texted me yesterday while I'm reporting, hey, John's coming on tomorrow. So I got myself versed with it. It is really incredible what is taking place with the metaverse. If you're not familiar with Facebook out there, you should be, and the term should be familiar to you. But Spence, go ahead, man. I'm going to let you lead the show here.
Yeah, well, thank you, John, again for coming. And the first thing I want to talk about is the metaverse, because, when formerly Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg came out and he said, we're changing the whole branding of the company. It was controversial, and honestly, like the stock, it plummeted like pretty hard, and it's still kind of low to this day. So, okay, let's take us back before this deal is struck. You heard that Facebook is changing to the metaverse. Did it strike in your mind at that moment? Like, where did it come from? Like, what were you thinking?
Well, when he switched directions, became Meta, I really didn't put a lot of thought into it at that point. And let me tell you how I kind of started investigating the metaverse and how I got involved in it, and why. Maybe this explanation will help you understand why I chose the metaverse as my next big thing, my big investment. So I was looking, obviously we run a video game tournament company. So my goal is to try to get as many registered players as I possibly can. So I'll give you an example. It took us almost a year and a half to get to 5,000 registered players. It's only taken me 6 months to get to 70,000 registered players.
Wow.
But I want that number to jump to 20 million registered players. So how do we do that effectively? So our first thought was, well, we'll go buy a brick and mortar building. We'll set up a esports venue. We'll hold on competitions at our physical location. People will fly in from all over the world and have tournaments, and we'll give away cash and prizes like we do online. And I started crunching the numbers. And by the time I bought a building, let's say in Orlando, I bought a building in Orlando for $5 million. I spent another $2 million on the electronics and the video game boards and all the things you have to do and all the bells and whistles. I'm sitting here thinking, okay, maybe I can run, 100 tournaments a year, and maybe I can get 20,000 people through the door. And then I thought, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a more effective, cost-effective way to my shareholders other than this. So I started investigating the metaverse. I said, okay, that's when Zuckerberg popped into my head. Okay, so if Zuckerberg's spending this many billions, change the name of his company, there's got to be a little something to this metaverse. So the more I began to explore it, I started looking at all the metaverses that were available and what did each one offer? What did they each one have? So what I learned was that what we have the capability of doing in the metaverse is now I can set up that same, instead of brick and mortar, a virtual sports arena. I can run 30 tournaments at one time in a day, maybe 40. I can have thousands of gamers playing, millions of people watching those games take place, for a fraction of the cost that a brick and mortar building would go. And I'm not there's no limit, there's no cap on how many people can participate and view these events live and participate in these events. So that was my motivator, right? So then I take it a step further. Why TCG World? Why did I choose that particular metaverse? And the reason I picked it was because that particular universe is built on a gaming platform. What that means is, let's say there's two big metaverses out there, been around for a while. You probably heard about them, Decentraland, Sandbox. So if you go to those guys, and let's say you build a golf course, an 18-hole golf course, in those metaverses, you can look at your golf course. That's all you can do. You can build it, look at it, admire what you did. In our metaverse, in GG Tour City, I can build an 18-hole golf course. I can play the 18-hole golf course. Not only can I play it, but if I want to force them, and I got a guy in Seattle, a friend of mine in Seattle, I got a friend in London, I got a friend in Puerto Rico, and I'm in Tampa, we can still play virtually together for that 18 holes. So there's really unlimited amount of potential of, if your mind can think about it, we can build it in this metaverse, and it's expandable. So let's say I buy a plot of land that's 128 meters by 128 meters, 25 meters high, or 250 meters high. And I've capped out that space. Because we're built on a gaming platform, now I can do some other cool things. I can tunnel underneath my space. I can build a network of things underneath. Games that people can play. So they come to visit me. Let's say they're taking a break from playing a game. They can go down a tunnel and go capture some Bitcoin or whatever that we offer down and below, and play games down there, and then pop back up, and then they can go throughout the city. So when I started talking with TCG World, and I told him what my idea was about my esports arena, he said, "Well, that's great. So you want a parcel?" I said, "No, I want the entire city." Now, why do I want why did I want 4,144 parcels at $100 million? Here's why. I wanted to put together a city of sports and entertainment companies. So that means professional sports franchises. And why do I want those? Because they have, what do they have? They have millions of followers each. I mean, tens of millions. If you take Manchester United, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Chicago Cubs, Atlanta Braves, all of these guys have a built-in network of millions and millions and millions of followers. So the metaverse is going to be content driven, right? So all of those people have content. Let's talk about other entertainment, music catalogs. So you bring in a guy like Dr. Dre, or you bring with the enormous catalog that they offer. And now we can run online concerts. So in our world, let's say we're going to run a Snoop Dogg concert right now. So today, Snoop Dogg would go out and rent an arena. If he was going to do a concert, he would go out and rent an arena, house 25,000 people, right? So he spends God knows how much, several $1 million renting the arena. He's got to charge $130 a ticket. And all he can fit is whatever that arena is capable of holding. Now we can build him a stadium in the metaverse. Snoop Dogg now can say, I'm going to hold a concert on January the 10th. Snoop Dogg puts it out there to his database of millions and millions of followers. Now, instead of 25,000, he can charge $5 a ticket, maybe $3 a ticket, but he can have millions of people. Snoop can be in his living room, and his avatar will perform live for him, and he can have millions of people paying $3 or $4. So, guys, it's just amazing what can happen. And then we talk about the Vegas connection. Later on, you can incorporate sports bet. There's just a ton of stuff that you can do later on to just keep adding and adding and adding. So the whole idea behind GG Tour City is building a group of companies that are all in the entertainment, sports, music, movies. And so as these millions of people come, whether they're playing my gaming tournaments, or whether they're going to a concert, or whether they're doing some things with the professional sports teams, while they're in my virtual city, they'll go around to the others. So one business scratches the back of the other business.
Wow.
And scratches the back of the other business. It becomes a community that plays off of each other, and every member of that community helps. So I'll one more thing, and then I'll shut up and let you ask questions. So you can't tell I get excited about this. So let's say it's not all about money. Although, we obviously I would like to sell all these parcels to the right people. But if I could sell out in 5 minutes if I opened it to pornography, where the porn guys don't want it. I don't care how much money they offer. Never happen. Never happen if there's a THC, anything with marijuana. THC won't sell them. I will not sell those people. As popular as Dr. Oz is, for example, if Dr. Oz wanted to come in, he's got a lot of content. He's got a lot of followers. My concern, I wouldn't sell to him, because what if he had one segment that irritated a big part of my of my viewership. So I'm going to be really selective of who I bring into the community, because they're going to have to benefit the other members within my community.
You give away any idea of some of the larger sponsors that you are talking to? I mean, so the big shoe companies. I mean, because obviously those are the types of businesses that make perfect sense. There's no controversy with them, and they love spending money, and especially on something like this, I got to imagine they're chomping at the bit to get involved.
Well, that's right. Well, I just, honestly, we just launched and announced this on June 14th. So really, this Vegas show that we're attending right now, the Metaverse Expo, is kind of our coming out party, if you will. So I will tell you that I've been astounded since we made the announcement just a couple of weeks ago that we made this acquisition. I'm really shocked at how many people are calling me. And you're right, there are some of those, and I don't want to name a lot of names here, but I will tell you that we're talking to some really very large corporations and engage in a business. But, my parcels sell anywhere from, well, there's little tiny parcels for like $8,400, but my commercial parcels start at $375,000 and they go to $28 million. So you're not going to sell a $28 million parcel in a night. That's going to take some time and negotiations and what have you.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But it's not surprising when you mention Metaverse and getting involved with, especially with a platform that you founded here. I don't think you'll have any problem. Yeah, those are very large dollar figures, but we see what endorsements and sponsorships bring. And I don't think, based on what I'm seeing and the little bit of due diligence I've done talking with Spencer, I don't think you'll have any problems getting these. I'm just imagining this is amazing because it's going beyond like a virtual reality type of thing. This is reality. Like you said, Snoop's fans from all over can see him perform live for $3. I mean, that kind of thing is really, really cool and very, very unique and very great foresight. It really is.
Yeah. So I just have one last question, and it's really about virtual reality because we've gone a long way, and I had a little graphic for us. There's a Virtual Boy on there. I don't know if you remember that. Nintendo's failed console right before the N64 came out. So a little bit farther from that. But there is still an entry barrier when it comes to virtual reality. Now, at first, you had to plug it into computers, like this, almost like a steam-powered thing, and it just wasn't accessible. Now, obviously, there's just wireless ones where you can put them on your head. So, where do you think it's going, and like how affordable do you think it will be in the future? Because that's it. That's basically the only thing keeping the metaverse from being the biggest thing in the world, right? Is people having the virtual headset to get in there.
Yeah. So I've been doing an awful lot of talking and to people that are in the technology field they're starting to build tools that the general public can buy so that they can participate in the metaverse. And I think you're going to see the cost of all of those, whether it's headsets or whether it's VR headsets, you're going to see it come down. It's going to come down and it's going to reach the masses. But and it's going to be necessary because I think just my vision is that the internet that we know today, the internet that you and I are using right now, is going to be kind of a thing of the past. It'll be like the old 8-track tape. And I think what you're going to eventually do is you're going to go into the metaverse. And for example, let's take Amazon. So Amazon, you go to look up, you need a new pair of shoes. So you're going to look at a 2-dimensional picture to buy that pair of shoes. In the metaverse, you're going to be able to pick that shoe up and you're going to be able to turn it. You're going to be able to look at it and you're going to be able to say, okay, I like this. And then you're going to be able to hit a button to buy it. So I believe that everything will eventually direct the population to the metaverse. At some point, everybody's going to be involved in the metaverse. And the other exciting thing that's happened, whether it's, I selected tcg.world, but there's going to be hundreds of these metaverses in the coming years. And I know now, and I've talked to several groups, there's guys now designing super highways that will connect, that you're going to be able to go from metaverse to metaverse to metaverse to metaverse. Guy, it's just good. I got chills coming up on my arms thinking about what you do. And you're talking about a revenue model. Guys, if your brain can imagine it, you can monetize it in the metaverse. For
Wow,
a fraction of the cost of what you can do in the real world.
It is crazy,
No, it's
and
amazing.
there's just no question it's the wave of the future. And to hop on board, again, our guest today, John Whitman Jr., founder and chairman of the board for GG Tour Inc. And again, you've been listening about the metaverse and what they're doing, and there's no question it's the wave of the future. You see that Zuckerberg doesn't get involved, and to change the name of a company as profound as Facebook, you know it's the real deal. And as you mentioned, a multi-billions of dollars are going to head that way in the future. John, really appreciate you taking the time out
Listen,
and joining the
guys,
show
thanks
today.
for having me on. I appreciate it. Best of luck to you. Look forward to our next meeting.
Absolutely. Again, John Whitman, Jr., founder and chairman of the board of GG Tours Inc. Spence, real quick, just give a quick update on Wimbledon. The final right now, they are in the fourth set. It's tied 4-4. The Joker's up 2-1. I should say 2 games to 1, but 2 sets to 1. But we'll see what happens. We'll keep you informed. And, it's 5 sets, but if the Joker wins this one, it's over. I want to see it go all 5, man. I mean, I'm really intrigued, man. Like I said, I wish Frankie was here to check this out. He would be absolutely loving it. A couple things, obviously, we'll talk about. I wanted to talk about the, Major League Baseball All-Star Game. We'll talk much more about that next Sunday. But the starters were all announced. The reserves and the pitchers are going to be announced today about 2:30 our time. But on Friday, Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred named Albert Pujols and Miguel Cabrera to the All-Star rosters. Miguel was going to make it anyways. I mean, for God's sakes, right now, Spencer, it is crazy. This guy who this year eclipsed 3,000 hits, who eclipsed 500 home runs. Well, what's he doing this year? He could have easily shut it down, tanked, started taking some days off. He's got 3 homers on the season, but he's batting .304, which is 9th in Major League Baseball right now, which is unbelievable. 31 RBIs on the season as well. And career-wise, 505 home runs right now, 27th on the all-time list. He's got a career batting average of .310 and batting over 300 against this year, so that shouldn't drop off too much. 1,835 RBIs, 17th in Major League Baseball history, 2-time MVP, 11-time All-Star with the Tigers and the Marlins from 2003 to 2022. I don't know where we're going to rank him when it's all said and done as far as the greatest hitters in the game, but one of the most pure, most natural strokes I've ever seen. And it is nothing short. Now, is he going to catch Pete Rose? Nobody's going to catch Pete Rose in our lifetime or the next. And sooner or later, guys, this guy's got to get into the Hall of Fame. I mean, he might have been and might still be an asshole off the field. He might have had a gambling problem. They've never proven that he ever did anything to tank his game. Like he said, whenever he bet on the teams that he was playing on, he bet on himself to win. So, you can't betting to lose. But the bottom line is when you look at what Miguel's done and the magnificence of his career, and then you think that Pete Rose is still over 1,000 hits in front of him, that's unbelievable. But Miguel Cabrera, man, hats off. I'm so happy that he is in the All-Star game. Looking forward to seeing him get on the field in his 11th All-Star game, man. Really, really, really cool. Spence, let's jump over. I wanted to really quickly also talk about the NBA Summer League, the NBA 2K23 Summer League 2022 taking place right now through the 17th at the Thomas and Mack and Cox Pavilion on the campus of UNLV. Spencer, some of the guys to you, Banchero, I know, is one of the guys that's really stood out. 2 games. I don't even think he's going to play another game. I think they're going to shut this guy down. They realize how good he is. He may be the cream of this year's crop from what I've seen very briefly in the Summer League. What have you noticed? What are you seeing? And any surprises so far? It's early on yet in this year's Summer League.
No, it's actually been very exciting. Actually, I have a highlight to show you. If this doesn't prove to you that Las Vegas should be the next team to have an NBA team, I don't know what will.
Slips out to the corner. Keita for 3. Okay. Oh, Keita.
Great play.
3-point game, Doris.
Great execution.
And the steal. They can tie it with a 3. Murray, yes! A Murray miracle in the desert.
That's an NBA Summer League game, Brian. I mean,
that's really cool. And Murray is another guy that I want.
Game.
Murray's another guy I wanted to mention that
Yes.
really is having a good Summer League as well early on. But yeah, no, it did feel that was really cool highlight, Spencer. And how many people and my friends are going to Summer League. It's the first year since Summer League's been in existence that I didn't get us credentials. I'm pretty bummed about it, but I'm playing poker. I've just got a lot going on. So, and I know you're going you're going tomorrow anyway, and we'll get Chris Wynn on to talk about it. I know he attends the Summer League every year and is a big part of it, but it has become a staple in Las Vegas, an anticipated staple. And yesterday, driving down Tropicana, passing Thomas and Mack, that place was packed, man. I mean, the traffic, it is no joke anymore. This is something that people take very seriously. They really enjoy and really look forward to. And it's not surprising, listening to a few of the interviews. Guys want to win now. They want to actually win.
Championship rings this year.
This year they're giving them championship, and the guys really want to win Summer League. They're not just, yes, it is to showcase their talents and make a case for them being on an NBA roster, but it is also now becoming competitive to the point that the teams actually want to advance and win. And I love when I see that, and that just speaks volumes to the popularity of the Summer League and how important it is viewed now.
No, and a great thing. It's really become its own. Like before, I was there in the very first Las Vegas Summer Leagues. That's how long I've been going to it. I talked to the Atlanta GM. I'm sure he's not the GM now anymore, but like he was literally sitting in the stands. It was like almost empty, and we were sitting there. I was talking to the guy.
I walked into the game with Mike Brown, and we were walking down the tunnel together right after he had just led Golden State when Steve Kerr was. Remember he was out, and Mike Brown came in and led them to the NBA title. And there he is in the Summer League, and I'm talking to him. I run into Pat McCaw in the parking lot, when he was popular and still playing. I mean, it is incredible who you run into. I've talked to Luke Walton there. Just so many people over the course of time. Sat right like 3 seats away from LeBron James.
Yeah, it's just not like that anymore. It's so packed in there.
Mayweather shows up at the games. Everybody
used to be able to float between the two, the Cox Pavilion and the Thomas and Mack.
So cool.
You got to pick your seat now because if you try to go later for a big game, it will not.
It used to be not a problem getting a seat in that house. It is tough now, and it is really cool. Get down Thomas and Mack, Cox Pavilion all the way till the 17th. I'm bummed that this will be the last year, the first and only year I don't get credentials for the Summer League. I'll be going from now on. I'm missing a lot, and I'm kind of bummed I'm missing all that, but really, really cool. Spencer, we'll move over to women's basketball. Now, the 2022 AT&T WNBA All-Star Game will be played in Chicago at Wintrust Arena today at 1 o'clock Eastern. So it's starting pretty much right after our show here, about an hour from after the show ends on ABC. Las Vegas Aces, Aja Wilson, and Seattle Storm's Brianna Stewart received the most votes and were named co-captains of the All-Star Game. The league also named Minnesota Lynx's Sylvia Fowles and Seattle Storm's Sue Bird as co-captains, as both players announced their retirement after this season, so they made them co-captains. Brittany Griner was named an honorary All-Star and starter as she still remains detained in Russia. 4 Las Vegas Aces in this All-Star Game, 3 of them starting.
Yeah, no, it's pretty exciting, and there is one thing though. So I watched the skills challenge yesterday, and it was pretty entertaining. But these girls have to get better on the microphone. I know that sounds kind of crazy, and you could say NBA players aren't, but they have NBA players have these big personalities, and that's one of the biggest things that I've talked about when it comes to the WNBA growing, because the girls are getting better. Sabrina Ionescu had a 30-point triple-double 2 weeks ago, literally never done before, the first time in WNBA history. So the talent from even just 2 years ago, significantly better. When you talk about Asia and Ionescu coming into the league, it's changed the face of it. And these girls are better than anyone who's ever come before them, pretty much. Barring the girl from the Phoenix, of course, she's literally legendary. But this new crop is coming in, but they got to learn to, up themselves. Maybe it's through social media. I think it has to be there needs to be more beef. How is the NBA not driven by drama? There's no drama in the WNBA, and I know these girls probably don't want to have fake interactions with each other, but I don't know. I don't know how you feel about that, but it feels too cordial to me, and I think that's a big problem.
It's a really interesting point, Spencer. Something I've honestly never even thought about. I thought there's a lot of drama this year because of the Brittany Griner situation and not being around. The WNBA has been in the news a lot more than it had ever been because of that. The thing that I don't like, and NBA All-Star Game, this whole game, it should be conference versus conference. I
I
don't
agree.
like picking teams. I hate the fact that you have aces on both teams. I just hate it. I think that at least if you draft a player, if one of these from one team, then you have to take any other player from that team that you want it to be an all-star. They've got to be. It just bothers me, Spencer. It's like, I would hate it if like baseball ever did something like that. I mean,
Oh yeah, that would be
but
awful.
that'll never happen. I
Yeah.
pray it never happens. But don't pick teams. We're starting to see this in all the sports now, and it's making me a little bit ill. Conference should play against conference. That's what makes it exciting, and that's why Major League Baseball All-Star Game will always be the best All-Star Game, bar none. Because I didn't like when they were competing in Major League Baseball All-Star Game to host the World Series.
Yeah, that
I
was
thought that
wild.
was
That's
crap.
wild.
There should have been something else. They incentivized them monetarily. Obviously, the winning players get a little bit more money, but something different than that. But still, those guys go out there and give their all, both offensively and defensively. And typically, all-star games are all offensive. In baseball, you see both offensive and defensive, and that's what I love about it. But other than that, I'm kind of excited to watch the game today. It's really cool to see Jackie Young as a starter, where a couple of years ago, all of us were saying, wow, she might be a bust.
Right.
And she has really developed into a hell of a basketball player. And it's nice to see Kelsey Plum. This really happened last year when she recovered from her Achilles injury, but she has become one of the premier scorers now in the WNBA. Kelsey Plum is a go-to person, establishing herself as one of the best point guards, and I love seeing it because she was such a prolific scorer in Washington in college, and man, she just for a little while she was having trouble shooting 10-foot jump shots, and now her perimeter game has gotten tremendous. Her ability to distribute the basketball has gotten really good, and she just has great floor vision and is a really cerebral basketball player, and I love seeing her get an opportunity in the All-Star game. De'Arica Hamby is well in the game, and of course Asia Wilson captaining one of the teams. Pretty cool. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you have to give a ton of credit to Coach Popovich for his coaching tree, because now Becky Hammond's obviously in that. Mike Budenholzer obviously just won a championship recently with the Milwaukee Bucks. Taylor Jenkins, with the Grizzlies. Mike Brown was just hired by the Sacramento Kings. I don't think it's coincidence that all of those coaches are successful.
The thing with Popovich is, obviously, he's a really good mentor, besides being arguably the second best coach in NBA history.
He can't be number one because he made the biggest coaching mistake in NBA.
He did. But the thing is he really is obviously a great mentor, and Becky
amazing.
Hammond has fit in tremendously. Although, speaking of the Aces have lost 2 in a row, Spencer, in 5 of their last 7 games. 15-7 record in the WNBA. They're not the best record anymore, and now they're only a half a game ahead of the Seattle Storm in the Western Conference. The next 2 games after the All-Star break, they get Tuesday and Thursday to New York to play the Liberty. They just got beat by the Liberty right before the All-Star break. Spencer, reason for concern?
I don't know. I mean, everybody hits a wall, I feel like, and I feel like the team is too relaxed, to be honest with you. I don't know what kind of attitude it is. Maybe it's because they were just really looking forward to the All-Star break. I hope to see some new focus. And I know it's the All-Star game and they're interviewing Asia. It just seemed too loosey-goosey to me. But you know me, I read too far into everything.
5-5 now, right now, in the 4th set between Djokovic and I'm just taking a look. I thought they just updated it again. No, still, it's right now. He's up. It's tied 5-5. So we'll see what happens. Kyrgios and Djokovic, man. I appreciate you listening to the show. You can put the match on in the background. It's probably going to be spectacular. Can't wait to get home and see it. And Spencer, finally, the Las Vegas Aviators report. The Aviators have won 2 in a row and 5 of the last 7, 47-36 in the season. Still in first place in the Western Division and tied for the second best record in the Pacific Coast League. Tuesday, they're back at the Las Vegas ballpark for a 6-game homestand against the Salt Lake City Bees. It's pretty cool again for the second straight year to see this team making a playoff push because, yes, it's AAA. Yes, what really hampers a lot of these teams when it gets close to the postseason is that's in September, and a lot of these guys, the good prospects, get called up. And here, a team makes a run all the way to the playoffs, and then now they're going to call players up from double and single A to fill in for their players that are getting an opportunity to play on the big league roster right when it's the playoff. That's the only anticlimactic thing about a AAA baseball. But other than that, it is a lot of fun. You've got the best stadium in the country for AAA baseball, right next to Red Rock up there in Summerlin. I mean, it is. If you haven't been to Las Vegas ballpark, you got to get out there. It's the best value sporting event in Las Vegas, in my opinion, and just a beautiful venue. I know it's hot out there. Drink a lot of water, enjoy yourself, not a bad seat in the house, and a great place to watch baseball. We're just about out of time. Spence, I want to, of course, thank John Whitman Jr. for joining the show again. I want to thank you for hosting it, getting him on the show, and of course, back in the Fox Sports Residential Bancorp studio, our producer, Chris Magnum Chapman. Wouldn't know what to do without that guy. Also, the locker room reporter for Vegas Golden Knights Radio Network. And like I said, it's pretty cool to have a guy, although he's from the East Coast as well, but that talks hockey as much as I do, and knows and loves the sport and appreciates it. It's really cool to have him producing the show for so long. So I want to thank all you guys. We didn't get to wish everyone a happy Independence Day and happy 4th last week. So happy belated 4th of July. Hell of an Independence Day here in Vegas with all kinds of fireworks, all kinds of things going on. We'll wrap up on the NBA Summer League next week. Of course, we'll talk Major League Baseball All-Star Game next week. And God, I can't believe it, man. Football is right around the corner. Time flies when you're having fun, and how can you not be having fun in Vegas? Once again, I'm Brian Feldman. This is Out of Line. We appreciate you listening. We are here, same place, same time, every Sunday morning, 8 to 9 o'clock. We'll be back next week. Bye-bye.